Tonight at 9:30, Americans could see a cut in their SNAP benefits. Why that extra funding will be disappearing from wallets. Also making sure you know what changes are made to medical records. We'll tell you about a new bill introduced in Springfield. But first tonight, many concerned community members packed tonight's Unit 5 school board meeting in McLean County to address possible budget cuts. If a tax referendum does not pass in April, reductions will be made for the 2023 to 2025 school year. Our Brianna Rittman attended that meeting. And Brianna, did they decide what would be cut?
Yeah, Shelby, it's been a long night, but the meeting just ended and a vote has been made. Now, this is all in effort to fix a nearly $12 million deficit in the school district's budget. Tonight, they approved budget cuts for the next two up. They approved budget cuts for the 2023-2024 academic school year if an April referendum is not approved. 40 people, including teachers, parents, and students, spoke during public comment to voice their concerns about the potential cuts. The Unit 5 school district is about $11.7 million in the hole. During the meeting, the superintendent said the district had $2 million worth of cuts since spring 2022. The proposed reductions for 2023-2024 range between $1.8 million to $2.2 million. Some of the changes for 2023-2024 include increasing registration, rental activity, and gate fees, and pushing band and orchestra to 6th grade. For 2024-2025, school year recommendations include closing Carlock Elementary and special education community outings. Tonight, these recommendations were approved unanimously. Now, there's a possibility that there are no cuts at all. There is a referendum on the April ballot that would raise the education fund tax rate from $2.72 to $3.60 per $100 assessed valuation. But if voters shoot down that referendum as they previously did in November, cuts will be made. The board hopes that discussing potential cuts allows for transparency and will show the need for the referendum. Now, the superintendent says that the school board has until June at the latest to decide for any school closures for the 2024-2025 school year. Shelby?
All right, Brianna, thank you. We turn to a crime alert right now. A man from Normal has been arrested on 51 counts of child pornography-related charges. The Normal Police Department and McLean County Sheriff's Office arrested this man on your screen, 23-year-old Scott Johnson, last Wednesday. Johnson's charges stem from a May 2020 investigation. Multiple electronic items with child sexual abuse material were seized at Johnson's home, we're told, after a search warrant. Turning now to a health alert, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker announces the state's public health emergency proclamation for COVID-19 will end on May 11th. Now, that's the same day that President Biden announced an end to the federal emergency. Governor Pritzker emphasized COVID-19 has not disappeared, saying the virus is still a danger to people with compromised immune systems. He declared COVID a public health emergency almost 3 years ago. Since then, Illinois residents were able to receive a variety of benefits, from vaccines to monetary aid. Americans reliant on SNAP benefits will soon see a cut in their monthly payments. The extra money added during the pandemic is expiring for the bulk of states in March. Our Raquel Mountain has that story.
The federal government says millions of low-income Americans need to prepare to cut back.
There's a big change coming to SNAP benefits.
Starting February for South Carolina and for 32 other states in March, millions will lose roughly $95 in additional monthly SNAP benefits.
This was always extra temporary help.
Stacey Dean, the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Undersecretary for Food and Nutrition, says the extra funds were part of a pandemic-era program that's now expiring. The decrease comes, however, as the national inflation rate remains high, especially for food.
Is there a concern that there's going to be a negative impact for a lot of families?
We've taken a lot of steps to try to help families with that.
Dean says the federal government already increased both SNAP and Social Security payments to combat rising consumer costs.
Making lots of additional investments in emergency food.
But Vince Hall with Feeding America says that's not enough.
We have transitioned from a pandemic crisis to a hunger crisis, and people who are working full time aren't able to afford rent, gasoline, electricity, and food.
He expects already long lines at food banks to grow.
Is going to create more problems in our mission of making sure that no one goes hungry.
To help, he's urging lawmakers to make permanent changes to SNAP in the upcoming Farm Bill.
Ultimately, Congress writes the rules.
USDA is encouraging families to prepare their budgets and apply for any other food assistance programs. In Washington, Raquel Martin.
Taking a look around the state, an Illinois appellate court has upheld the temporary restraining order against the state's assault weapons ban. Judges in Illinois' 5th District ruled the lower court in Effingham acted appropriately in granting the emergency order. It comes after Illinois' Attorney General appealed the order to the appellate court. Justices did dissent with the lower court's ruling on 3 of the 4 counts, but upheld the 4th, which keeps the order in place. In Springfield, Illinois House Republicans are calling for more oversight and transparency in the state's budget process. That includes hearings on the state budget and briefings to lawmakers on the budget. They also want to see more balanced budgets. House Minority Leader Tony McCombie says Republicans want to work with Democrats to implement these reforms. Also, a bill to make sure patients know about changes to their medical records has been introduced in the state capitol. The bill's sponsor, Representative Dan Calkin, says some healthcare providers are filtering out information on changes to medical records. Calkin says it's also meant to make sure patients have the most accurate version of their medical history. The bill will also make sure that patients know if their records have been altered and why after their date of care. Well, check this out. Someone with strong Central Illinois roots is preparing to take the stage in the Big Apple. Champagne's Jonathan Butler Duplessis is the next Aaron Burr in Hamilton on Broadway. The Central High and U of I grad started his career at the Station Theater in Urbana. He says he was cast to cover many different roles in Hamilton, but wasn't expecting to play Burr right off the bat. The actor calls it a life-changing opportunity, and he's been preparing for about a month now.
There's an out-of-body experience that I had during the last rehearsal. And, you know, you're doing the final duel and you're staring across from Hamilton and you're in full costume and everyone's jumping and kicking and spinning. And you're like, this is really neat. This is really happening.
Butler Duplessis says he wouldn't be in that position without all of his teachers, and he hopes he can act as a role model for others who are working to follow in his footsteps. He'll step into the role for the first time this Thursday. Best of luck to him. New tonight, there is a new furry addition to the Miller Park Zoo in Bloomington. Meet Honey Bun, the zoo's new female red wolf. The wolf has not had any babies yet, so Honey Bun has been selected to be paired with another male wolf based on genetic compatibility. She was born in April of 2019 in Tacoma, Washington. Honey traveled to Bloomington early last month, where she had to quarantine for 30 days. Now she shares an enclosure with the zoo's male red wolf, Moon Pie. Both, we're told, are getting along great. Also, take a look at this. It may be cold here in Central Illinois, but winter storm warnings in place across the country today. The flight tracking site FlightAware says more than 1,700 flights have been canceled so far. The majority of those cancellations at the 2 airports in Dallas-Fort Worth. The region is frosted in sleet. The roads are slick ice sheets as well. The National Weather Service in Fort Worth is encouraging people to stay at home today as conditions are expected to worsen. Chris, we're thankful, though, we won't see anything like this in our area, right?
No, not really a problem at all. But the cold air,